Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Shiur Bet Yosef, where we study the Torah in the Bet Yosef as the foundations for understanding the Shulchan Aruch. Today, we're learning Siman Tafresh Ayin Aleph. It should be for those that were injured in today's attack, as well as Leilun Nishmat, those that have unfortunately passed away. Hashem Yikom Damam. We're talking about the laws of Hanukkah, and the Torah in Siman Tafresh Ayin Aleph brings that since the miracle happened, the Nerot Hanukkah Chachamim Mitaken, like we all know, that everyone should light nerot every night, the kedei leazkir et hanes. And he brings that since it's such an important mitzvah, even aniya mitpanes ben tzedakah has to either borrow or sell his clothing to buy shemen. The Beit Yosef brings the source for this, and the Magid Mishneh says it's a Gemara in Masechet Pesachim, where we learn over there that for Dalit Kosot on Pesach, since it's Vishum Pirsum Hanes Ta'ani, that even though he has nothing and he gets money from tzedakah, he has to either sell his clothing or the gabaim have to give him. Therefore, also the deen of Nerot Hanukkah, which is similarly mitzvot the Rabbanan of Pirsum Hanes, he has to perform. The Biur Halacha here also says that the gabaim have to give him, and he says that they have to give him Mikar Adin of the Mahadrin, which we're going to learn about in Seif Bet. The Torah also brings that a person should be very careful, as the Gemara in Masechet Shabbat, Daf Kaf Gimel says, Haragil baner Hanukkah v'nei Shabbat, havenle banin tamidei chachamim. And the Rashi explains, why does a person merit to have banin tamidei chachamim from this mitzvah? Because the Pasuk in Mishlei says, Ner mitzvah v'torah or. And Rashi explains, Ayidei ner mitzvah de Shabbat de Hanukkah ba or ha-Torah. Because of the light of the Nerot, Shabbat and Hanukkah, one will merit to the light of the Torah, children of, there will be Tamidei Chachamim. Poskim say, why the children? They discussed the Mefarshim, why only the children and not him? And exactly how does it happen that the mitzvah, is it because of the Tukim in the mitzvah? Is it Tamidei Chachamim? Is it the Mesirut Nefesh? What's the concept? But nevertheless, is that the Shem will all be Zocher for the Nerot Hanukkah and Banim Tamidei Chachamim. Maran's Lashon is just as it was in the Beit Yosef and the Torah. Tzarich lizaher me'od b'adlakan Nerot Hanukkah. He's hinting to the concept of Havyam Banim Tamidei Chachamim. Ve'afilu aniyeh mitpares min tzedakah shoel sofer u'mocher kisuto ve'lokeach shemen la'adlik. Like we said, the ani is chayav in this mitzvah. On to Seif Bet. The Gemara discusses, again in Masechet Shabbat, Daf Kaf Aleph, there's two daf in Masechet Shabbat that have all the laws of Hanukkah. Worthwhile to take a look at them. The Gemara brings a braita that mitzvah ner Hanukkah is ner ish ubeto, one light, one candle for each household. However, there's different levels into this mitzvah. The Mahadrin light a ner v'kol echad ve'echad. Each person in the house has a candle corresponding to them. And the Mahadrim and the Mahadrin, which is a higher level, do further. As a Machlokes Beit Shammai, what they do. Beit Shammai says they decrease, Beit Hillel says they increase. The reasoning of Beit Shammai is according to the Parei Achad, or the number of days that are coming into the holiday, meaning on the first night, 8 days are coming in, or 7 days, and so on and so forth. And Beit Hillel says, no, it's Keneged Amim HaYotzim, how many days have passed. Inami mishum ma'alin bakodesh v'lo maridin, and as we all know, halacha is like Bet Hillel. And there's a very interesting machlokit between the Rambam and Tosafot. Is the Mahadrin going on the first level, ner ishu beto, or is it going on the level of Mahadrin? The Rambam says that each one adds on to the other one. Just like the Mahadrin do a candle for each person, you only have one candle, but if there's 4 people in the house, you do 4 candles each night. The Mahadrin will increase every night. It'll be 4, 8, and 12. However, Tosafot say that the Mahadrin and the Mahadrin is going on the first level because it's very important to have a hikir what night it is. And therefore, Tosafot says that the Mahadrin and Mahadrin light 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like we do. The Beit Yosef says that everyone's doing like the Tosafot, because if they were doing like the Rambam, they would have many more candles. That's very interesting. Why does the Beit Yosef say, okay, people doing like the Tosafot? However, the Beit Yosef in general always follows the Rambam. Mahavur Daniel once asked me, when did the Beit Yosef and the Rambam have a Hatunah? I told him, you missed it. It was the wedding of the century. It was the wedding of the millennia. What a wedding it was. The Rambam was one of the greatest poskim, and as the Beit Yosef mentions many times, whether in his Hakdama or all over the Beit Yosef, he's one of the greatest poskim and possibly the greatest posek. And therefore, I want to give you a percentage, but it's in the high 95 percentile of Alafot and Shulchan Aruch based on the Rambam. So why doesn't he mention the Rambam here? So I think the answer is two answers. One, the Rambam himself in Ha'achot Chanukah says, he explains the deen like he explains the sugya, how the Ma'adrin min Ma'adrin works. But he says, Minhag Pashut b'chol areinu b'Sfarad, in all of Spain, in all of our countries, we do like the, he doesn't say Tosafot, but they do like the Tosafot. Shenimtza madlik b'leila shmini, 8 candles, and he says whether there's Bnei Habayit Minubim or there's one person in the house. So clearly the Rambam himself is saying that the minhag is not like his explanation in the sugya, and therefore the Beit Yosef is not going to go against the minhag when even the Rambam agrees. Furthermore, we look at it carefully, we see that this mahloket is not Vikaratit. It's not like this mahloket, Tosafot and Rambam, how to light Vikaratit. It's on the Chumrah. Everyone agrees that one candle is enough. So if you have a mahloket, how many candles to light the Chumrah, and that everyone's doing like the Tosafot, for sure we'll continue to do like the Tosafot. And it's interesting to note that both Maran and the Tur don't even mention the other options. So much so that there's an opinion, I believe it's the Stahimit, who writes that no one should do Ner Isha Beto. It's sort of nullified because Maran only brings the deen of Laila Rishon Madik Echad Mikam Ve'elach Mosite Olech Echad Bechol Laila Ad Shebelila Haron Yishwana. Maran doesn't even bring it, and therefore the Stahimit wants to say you can't do Ner Isha Beto. However, look at the Haronim, that I don't think this is the halacha, because if a person's stuck, always the Ner Isha Beto is the halacha, and a person, if they don't have enough wicks or enough oil, or they're in a situation where it's not possible to light a number of nights, they can do Ner Isha Beto. The Darkei Moshe, which is the sefer that Ramah wrote before with the Ramah, he wrote a similar sefer, just like the Beit Yosef, but it's called the Darkei Moshe Aroch. In our tour, there's a version, the Darkei Moshe Katzar, which the publishers took the differentiations between the Beit Yosef and the Darkei Moshe, and they put it on the daf. But really, his sefer it's called the Darkei Moshe Aroch, which is printed in the newer tours at the end of the halachot. And he mentions that the minhag is like the Rambam, to add as many candles for the household. But he brings in the name of the Maharami Prague that since today we light inside, even the Tosafot would agree that it's okay. Which means to say that as long as there's a care for the people in the house, even Tosafot would agree that you can light many candles for the household members. And he also brings different halachot, which are we can be more lenient because we light inside. For example, where to light. We're going to learn about tefach samuk petach, and therefore he says in the house, since it's noticeable to the household members, the mitzvah and sort of the mitzvah isn't for the people outside; it's for the people inside. Therefore, according to the Raman, you could light many candles inside, and it's not a problem. And therefore, in the Ramah, he brings v'yishchokim, v'yishomrim, they call echad b'mnei habayit yadlik, and then he said that the minhag pashut, and this should obviously be careful. Call echad v'echad to put the candles in a makom nikar, and therefore it'll be nikar how many nights they're lighting for, and how many people are in the house. Seif Gimel discusses what does the person do if they have a earthenware vessel that has 2 different exits, 2 openings, Now, the Gemara says that, what does it mean, she explains that it's talking about the level of Mehadrin, that you light for 2 different people, and you're lighting according to the number of people in the house. So therefore, let's say there's 2 people in the house, you could use this vessel that has 2 different openings, sort of like a jug. Now, when the Torah brings this halakha, He doesn't say it like Rashi. The Torah says, Kikol milayla rishon ve'elach. And the Beit Yosef points out that the Torah is juxtaposing this halakha according to how the minhag is that we increase the candles. And therefore, the Torah is saying, if it has two, you can light it on the second night, for the Mahadri min Mahadri, as opposed to Rashi, who brings it for the Mahadri. Nevertheless, Maran, when he brings this halakha in Shulchan Aruch, he says, Ner sheyesh lo shnei piyot, oleh lo b'shir shnayim. And it sounds like he's talking about b'shir shnayim for two people. The question is, why does Maran change some of the Torah, or just use the Torah's lashon, especially when Maran in Seif Gimel and Seif Bet brings the deen like the Torah, the Madri min Madri. And I think the simple answer is that a lot of times you'll find that Maran brings lashon of the Shas, and he doesn't bring the lashon of the Rishonim, and he relies on the Beit Yosef that he explained this halakha. There's no machlok in Rashi and the Torah. It's just how to explain it according to each one's minhag to the different levels of each word. Seif Dalet will now discuss what does a person do when they have a bowl and they want to put a bunch of wicks in it, and they use it for nirot menukak. The Gemara says if they put a kli to distinguish between the wicks, they could do it. The Gemara says that if you have a kli kara shemen and you keep up it, you put different bunch of wicks inside the bowl. If you put a utensil that separates between them, it's all there. If not, but if you don't put the utensil, it's like a medura. Medura is a problem because it all looks like it's one light. The Torah brings a mahloket in the Rishonim in the discussion. Can you separate them physically? Can you put them an inch or half an inch in between each other? The Rosh brings from the Balei Torah that it's allowed. However, the Torah himself is cholek on the Balei Torah and the Rosh, his father, which generally doesn't happen. And he says, it's still a problem. Because how can you say etzbah is enough? Maybe the wicks will be thick and they'll come together, and if they're thin, maybe an etzbah is plenty. You can even do a half of an etzbah. And therefore, the Torah feels that the Gemara gave a way to do it. The Gemara said, put a utensil to separate between them, and that's the only way to do it. The Beit Yosef brings that really the Balei Torah is a Ran, it's a Shibboleth. I like it. There's other Rishonim that hold this way. However, it sounds like in the Beit Yosef that he's siding with the Torah. When he brings the Torah, he says, Divrei Ta'amim. Always important to the Beit Yosef to get a feel for how he's leaning, towards which poskim is he leaning. They say, Devarim Rim, Devarim Yisharim, Divrei Ta'amim. However, the Beit Yosef does give an answer to explain the Rosh. He says that maybe the Rosh and the Balei Torah, when they said they're talking about the average wick and the average bowl, and etzbah is okay. And nevertheless, the person has to be smart if he sees that he has very, very thick wicks. So an etzbah is enough. He could separate them and put 4 inches in between them. Concept. Nevertheless, when Maran brings this din in Shulchan Aruch, he only brings the lashon of the Gemara, and he did not bring the leniency of the Balei Torah and the Rosh to separate with the distance in the bowl. It would sound that he's being posek like the Torah, just like he was leaning towards the Torah when he said Divrei Ta'am in the Torah. It sounds like that's the way he's posek, even though there are 3 or 4 Rishonim that do hold like the Balei Torah. The Haronim do discuss if there's a mechitza, could you rely on the hakaka? And it sounds like it'll be lenient with another point of separation. When the Torah mentioned the din of Medura, the Darkei Moshe brings different halachot that stem from this concept of not having the Nerot Chanukah like a Medura. And that, for example, he says you shouldn't put the Chanukah candles in a circle, you should put them in a straight line. I did see that there were a Saradi Afronim that said that Maran would hold of this. I believe checking the Kaf HaHaim and others. He does bring a Maharil that says that the candles should be in a straight row. They shouldn't be in a zigzag formation. He also brings a Torah addition that says, what about a candelabra? Candelabra, that all the candles are in a sort of a circle formation. Is that a problem? The Torah addition says, no, it's not a problem. Why? Because each one has an individual place, and therefore it's not like a Medura. He also brings from the Marival that you shouldn't take wax candles and put them together. They look like a Medura. And maybe even they shouldn't be so close to each other. And he says that on Shabbat or Yom Tov, when they put the candles close to each other, that when the heat of the fire would bring them together and the wax would sort of connect them when they're melting, it's a problem, and therefore you weren't even mikayem mitzvah nefesh about a nesha hanukkah. The Berurah Halacha says the problem here isn't really the Medurah problem. The problem is that the candles will fall. The Lashon is naflot, and the Berurah Halacha says that that's the pshat, and that the candles will fall down. As we know, we can't have candles that are going to blow out or fall in a quick amount of time. The Rama reiterates these points in his Mapa, in his Hagahot and Shulchan Aruch. He says, since you can't have a Medurah, therefore you should put the candles in a straight line, not in a circle. However, the pamutot are allowed, like he said, which is like a candelabra. However, and he also brings this halakha that we mentioned, don't put the candles close to each other, the wax candles close to each other, and even on Shabbat and Yom Tov, don't do it. The Berurah Halacha says it's not a problem. Medurah, again, like we mentioned, it's an issue of that the candles won't light well. Thank you for joining. B'ezrat Hashem, we will continue. Seif Hey, I recommend to everyone who can, look over the Beit Yosef, look over the Shulchan Aruch, the Shtabura, Kaf HaChaim, and you'll have an enhancement in your Havanah. B'ezrat Hashem, all the best.